took us a lot to get to this point to decide, how we were going to grant you this second chance. So I really hope you take all of these seriously. So starting with the first one, we demand that Drag Matinee be hosted by a Black queen as a solo host for a bi-weekly trade-off, someone who cares and appreciates Black art beyond what tricks they can do. This person would not be picked by you. It would be picked by the Black Drag Council. And we are adding many people to that conversation to make sure it's fair and balanced. We, of course, would touch in with you on these situations. But other than that, we just want to reiterate that this show would be done on our terms. The host will have the same control on that night as you would. So they will be taking care of the money. They will be paying performers, and you will not be receiving any money on the nights that you do not work.
I mean, this is new.
Well, I feel like when we had the phone conversation, you kind of alluded to the fact that you weren't really here to really actually give up control. And as we've been talking about in this phone conversation, that's a big part of the problem with you, is that you want to hold on to the control and the power in the scene. We feel that it is only possible to actually have people learn how to do this and be in control of it is if they're actually in control. So not under Tranica's umbrella, not under this, it would be their own entity.
Here's what I'll say on that is my relationship with Berlin, there's definitely a conversation that.
Well, I've already started talking to the conversation with Berlin. All I need to know is that you agree with this.
This would be that 2 Saturdays a month are out of my control.
Yes, and that includes online and when we go back to the club. Let me just remind you that if this is something that you cannot agree upon on these terms, that everyone who signed this letter will no longer be performing with you at any of the bars that you work at.
I mean, if that's what it takes.
But also, are you actually online for this? Because saying if that's what it takes doesn't actually make me believe that you're going to be a part of this.
I just feel like, because I'm hearing a lot of this for the first time, like I want to, from the back end, like I will relinquish that control. I will. But, it's all kind of coming out quick, and
but the thing is, we've had this conversation, and this is a conversation that also could have been started a long time ago, like I said earlier.
It could have, but it wasn't. And I'm kind of answering off the cuff here. So
well, I don't think it's really too much off the cuff, because we talked about all this earlier, and you've had at least a week.
We talked about completely giving up control of the shows. We talked about the host. And
this is exactly what we talked about on the phone, Tranica, which was kind of a problem of mine when having a phone conversation with you, because I knew it might come up that you would say we didn't talk about this, but we talked about exactly this. And the reason I made this a part of this conversation was tonight was because how you acted on the phone when I brought it up.
I said that I wanted to include.
You said basically that you wanted people to work under the umbrella of T-Rex. And I'm saying that that is still you being in control, and that does not work for us.
All right. So what I'm hearing, I'm just going to step in real quick. So what I'm hearing is that there is not an agreement on the demand. And so if there is not an agreement on the demand, then the actions happen. And so the question now becomes, T-Rex, if you are not willing to make this agreement, and as someone who has read the letter, it felt pretty clear. But if you're not willing to make that agreement, then are you willing to then be someone who the community is not willing to work with? Because those seem like those are the two options right now.
Just here's what changed for me I just want to get this out real quick. It was that there would be a host in my place, and that I would still be behind the scenes doing the things that I do.
And I said that we did not agree to that, that those were not the terms. That's exactly what we talked about on the phone.
And just to be clear, you know, if the statement that you were making previously is that you are willing to give up some power and control, this is an effort and this is a concrete way of you doing that. And so the question then becomes, are you actually making that statement or are you not making that statement? And again, we're not trying to put you on the spot right here, right now, because the letter has been out for a minute. But we do want to make sure that if what you were saying previously, that you are willing to give up control and power and the way that you are perceived and run shows in Boys Town, and we are giving you an avenue to do that, then either statement A or statement B is true.
It's just that the original letter said hosting and not behind the scenes stuff. It said hosting. And that is the thing.
This is the original letter we have that I read to you.
But okay, so I host, but I also set up the budget and cast the show. And when we talked, I said, you want to have someone replace me as host. And I said, but what about we had a show that was once a week, or that was once a month, that would not just do that, that would give up that control completely. You didn't say that.
That's what you're repeating what I just said, that to give up the control completely. When you said on the phone,
that wasn't part of the original demand. That was what I came back with. And I said it once
to me.
You're bringing back the demand.
You said stuff would still be under the Tranica umbrella, which means I would hold the purse strings, your words verbatim, I would pay the performers and everything else. And I said, no, a part of those terms includes what I just read to you.
If I'm giving up, I'll give up 2 Saturdays a month. And obviously this is going to have to go into further debate with Berlin and not me, because
Well, absolutely. And that's why we have Taylor here. And I've already started the conversation. We just need to make sure you were on board for it.
Then I guess there we are. Yeah.
I guess there we are. Can we get an actual yes?
Yes.
Okay. The next on the list of demands. We want the dictatorship over number selection to stop immediately. Many people already went over this, and I'm sure you already know what this means. I've been a part of this too since the very beginning. What it specifically entails, though, and that I think may kind of get left out of the conversation, is the fact that there were different standards for different people. A lot of people felt like. So somebody else may be able to come and turn a silly ballad or do whatever, but if there's a person of color or a Black person who tries to do the same thing, they would get berated, talked down to, seen less than, even though their performance, their work is as equal to, if not better than that. So could you agree with that? We want the dictatorship over number selection to stop immediately.
Yes.
Okay, the next on the list of demands, we want to hold you and yourself to the same standard as you do all the other queens, which means new outfits, new hair, and new makeup every show. Is this something that you think you can do realistically?
No.
Okay, what's the problem with that?
I mean, I would just say remove the idea that there needs to be a new thing every show.
Can I ask why you would then hold everyone else to that same standard?
Because I work every week, and you know, if I'm saying you work
once a week, which means that it would probably be a lot easier for you to get one outfit.
But I was speaking about matinee specifically. So I said, if you come back to matinee, you know, bring me something different than you brought last week. That's the way that, or last month, that's the way that conversation would happen, and people would work the show once every 6 weeks, so, or 4 to 6 weeks sometimes, if they're more regular. And so, you know, when we were getting repeat stuff and there was 6 weeks in between, that was really the conversation. So, as far as that'll be removed, then that'll be removed. You're allowed to wear whatever you want, whenever you want.
Also, will you be agreeing to this and also be stepping up your looks for each drag matinee after this?
I mean, I don't know how to quantifiably say, will I be stepping it up? But I consistently get new hair every few months and stone new things. So I will continue to do that.
So T-Rex, one way that you can objectively step it up is to, again, hold yourself to the exact same standards that you would hold another queen to. And you can present it just as you would any other queen.
Yeah, so if that means, no same outfits for the 6 weeks, no same hair for the 6 weeks, whatever that standard was.
I mean, I'm just saying, can we just remove it? I mean, and just say wear whatever you want and there's no requirements. I mean,
well, some going back to what people have mentioned as complaints is the fact that they're considering that there are two different standards. And that is the problem. There are two different standards. So what we are asking for is that there is the same standard. And so by removing it, you don't actually make it equal. What you do is by removing it, there is still the assumption and there is still the undercurrent of there still being two different standards. So what we are asking for and what is in the request is that there is the same standard.
That's, yes.
Okay.
The same.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Shimmy. Next on the list, we demand that you book more Black local talent past tokenism in all shows that you host. That includes XYZ, plot twists, etc. Just in case you need to know the definition of tokenism, it's the practice of making only a symbolic effort to do a particular thing, especially by recruiting a small number of people from underrepresented groups in order to give the appearance of sexual or racial equality within a workforce. Is that something that you can commit yourself to from here on out?
Yes.
Okay, that is great to hear. Let's see. The next one, we demand that the microaggressions in and offline, private and public, come to a halt immediately, including but not limited to, I hold the mic, you're wearing that again, do something funny, only do high energy numbers. Is that something you can agree to?
Yes.
Speaking specifically to Roscoe's in this situation, we've already touched on this, but like they said, the Black Drag Council would like to see more Black representation in shows like XYZ. We would also like to know if it's possible to bring on a maybe rotating different Black co-hosts for the RuPaul's Drag Race viewing parties that you host.
That is certainly an option that can be considered in the future once we get back to hosting parties, but yes. Who knows what our future holds with that.
Okay, good to know. All right. And that actually looks like that is the complete list of demands in that situation. We have also went over all the speakers here. I feel like I've covered the basis. Shimmy, is there something you want to add in before I do closing remarks?
I just want to say again that